action tonight at 11 on WXYZ 7 Action News.
Get ready! Intense Soccer is back in town. WXYZ 7 is proud to present the 7th annual ABC Warehouse 3-on-3 Soccer Shootout. It's Saturday, July 10th and Sunday, July 11th at Birmingham Groves High School in Beverly Hills. Be there for non-stop soccer action. Small fields, no goalies, and no timeouts. The 7th annual ABC Warehouse 3-on-3 Soccer Shootout is brought to you in part by Select Care.
Who is it?
Bob.
Golf Bob?
Right.
Is he insane?
Apparently.
Call now for a free month of service, display unit, and activation.
WXYZ 7 Action News.
ABC News vanished. Stolen in the night continues. Once again, Peter Jennings.
It was the dead of night on March the 1st. There was some snow on the ground when at least one intruder crept through these woods and took the Lindbergh baby. As a disbelieving nation absorbed the news, the Lindberghs began receiving hundreds of calls from people who wanted to help. They even got a call from the country's #1 gangster, Al Capone. At 10:30 p.m. on March the 1st, 1932, the New Jersey State Police received a call from a man who uttered 3 sentences and hung up. This is Charles Lindbergh. My son has just been kidnapped sometime between 7:30 and 10. He's 20 months old and is wearing a one-piece sleeping suit.
It was so pitch black when we got there. There was so much confusion all over. Everybody was searching, everybody was looking, everybody was talking.
Quickly, the police found a ladder used by the kidnappers to reach the nursery window. And on the window ledge itself, Lindbergh found a ransom note demanding $50,000 for his son. The writer appeared to be foreign. Mysteriously, it was signed with 3 interlocking circles. The Lindberghs were hopeful they'd get little Charlie back. During the depths of the Depression, kidnapping was not uncommon. In the last year alone, 282 children had been taken, only to be returned when a ransom was paid. But this was the world's most famous baby. And the superintendent of the New Jersey State Police, Lieutenant Colonel H. Norman Schwarzkopf, decided to lead the investigation personally.
Any information of any kind.
You couldn't put your hands in your pockets, you couldn't do this, you had to stand perfectly still. He was a taskmaster.
But what everyone, including Colonel Schwarzkopf, soon realized was that the other colonel, Lindbergh, was actually in charge.
This is extraordinary in police history, I think. But these were, of course, extraordinary circumstances because it was about Charles Lindbergh.
There were now more than 100 state troopers camping out at Highfields, and Lindbergh's dream house had become a headquarters.
The place, as she describes it in her words, is bedlam. There are people sleeping all over the place, on mattresses, newspapers, blankets. They're sleeping on the pantry sink. They're sleeping on the living room floor, the dining room floor. And indeed, periodically, on certain nights, Anne is woken up so that she could vacate the bedroom so that there could be meetings had there.
Anne really withdrew. She was just completely devastated and rarely left her room, and as you can imagine, could not stop crying.
There's really nothing for her to be doing. Charles is busy running the show. What can Anne be doing? She really had one big job. That was to stay out of the way.
It was as if she had stepped off into a long day, as she said, turning into night. It was as if time had stopped the moment that they realized that that child was missing.
Overnight, the missing child had become the center of the largest manhunt in American history.
An incredible web went into place throughout the country. Immediately, the New York City police blocked off the George Washington Bridge. They searched all incoming cars. The customs people searched airports, the Coast Guard searched boats up and down the East Coast. Literally, it became the first priority of every policeman in the United States to be aware of the Lindbergh baby.
I was walking with the carriage with my son, and a policeman stopped me. My son was blue-eyed, blonde, curly hair, and a light complexion. And when the policeman stopped me, he said, "You have the kidnapped son of Lindbergh?" And I said, "No, that's my own son."
My dad had bought this new Marmon convertible coupe, and he was driving, and I was standing up on the front seat in between my dad and his friend. I was probably quite visible to the people, and they looked up and said, "Oh my God, there goes the Lindbergh baby." All these police came out, and guns and drawn and that. He was pretty scared.
Lindbergh got hundreds of calls every day, mostly leads that went nowhere. Then there were the opportunists, the psychics, the mobsters, and the cranks claiming to be in contact with the kidnappers. So Lindbergh was skeptical when one night a retired high school principal, John F. Condon, phoned.
Condon was very patriotic, very garrulous, very wordy, very full of himself.
He was so incensed by what had happened to his all-American hero. Condon decided, I will do my bit as a good private citizen to get the Lindbergh baby back.
Condon had written a letter in his local newspaper on the remote chance the kidnappers would see it, offering his services as a go-between they could trust to exchange the ransom for the baby.
But nobody is going to give up.
He promises never to testify against the kidnappers and urges them to contact him, and the amazing thing is, they do.
To prove they were genuine, the kidnappers had sent Condon a letter signed with the same 3 interlocking circles that were on the ransom note, and never seen by the public. Lindbergh authorized Condon to negotiate the baby's return. At 2 nighttime meetings held in New York cemeteries, Condon met a man who spoke with a German accent. At the second meeting, after Condon had received little Charlie's Dr. Denton sleeping suit, proof that the man really had the baby, Condon handed over the $50,000 in ransom money. All the man gave Condon was an envelope.
So they open it up, and there indeed are directions that the baby is on a boat named Nellie.
The note said they could find the boat off the coast of Massachusetts near Martha's Vineyard. The next day, Lindbergh and Condon took off in a seaplane expecting to return with little Charlie.
And they just circled and circled and circled for the entire day. But this boat was not to be found. No boat resembling the description of the boat Nellie could be found.
Realizing that they had been swindled, Lindbergh wondered how he would face Anne. And then on May the 12th, after 10 long weeks, the truth was discovered.
2 truck drivers are driving through the desolate back roads of New Jersey, and one of them had to relieve himself.
Truck driver walked in the woods and found a baby.
The body was already decomposing and parts had been dismembered by animals. But from the blonde curls and the cleft in the chin, there was no mistaking the Lindbergh baby.
I've seen a lot of bad things in my time, but if you have children, you can't realize what it is until you lose one.
Anne Morrow wrote about it in her diary. I went into his closet. In the pockets of his blue coat, I found his red mittens. It was like touching his hand. I'm glad that I spoiled him that last weekend when he was sick. I took him on my lap and rocked him and sang to him.
They are the words of a woman in shock and in mourning for her little boy. For me, reading her diary entry, she made me feel as if this child were my child and I had lost him.
Anne Lindbergh always regretted that she never saw her husband cry. It troubled her that he